I mean,
Okay, good to go?
There you go.
Okay. So Zoom is all working enough and ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. All right, good evening and welcome to the Thursday, April 9th, 2026 school committee meeting. At this time, I'd like to open the meeting with a roll call of the school committee. Michelle Kirkby here.
Neil Brem here.
Sophia Viglas here.
Michael McCabe here.
Rosalie, can you hear us? Oh, go ahead.
Okay, Rosalie Weiss here.
All right, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Before we move to public comment, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge two members who recently concluded their service and welcome our new members. Will and Diana each served on the school committee for the past 3 years and contributed tremendously to our schools and community. They dedicated significant time behind the scenes, serving on the Strategic Plan Steering Committee, Mobile Tech Task Force, School Start Times Committee, Policy Subcommittee, as well as participating in Unit A and Unit B negotiations and working closely with CPAC and our PTOs. Their commitment to students, staff, and family has had a meaningful and lasting impact, and I want to sincerely thank them for their service. I'd also like to warmly welcome our new members, Rosalie Weiss, who is joining us on Zoom, and Mike McCabe, who is here in person. We're glad to have you both with us and look forward to working together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So before opening public input, I want to remind everyone of a few guidelines that are published in our policy manual. Total time will be limited to 15 minutes, and each speaker is asked to keep comments to 3 minutes or less. I'll be using a timer for the 3 minutes for fairness. All speakers are encouraged to present their remarks in a respectful manner. Committee members will not respond during public comment, and speakers should direct all remarks through the chair. If you have any questions about these guidelines, you can refer to our policy manual on the school committee webpage, specifically policies BEDH and BEDH-E. Finally, public comment is just one avenue to share feedback. If you have more to say or need any additional time, you're always welcome to email the school committee at scchair@email.medfield.net. At this time, I'd like to open public input. Members of the public are welcome to comment during the public input, either here or through Zoom. If you're on Zoom, please raise your Zoom hand. We ask that you keep your camera on when making a Zoom comment, and that you follow school committee policy for public input, including speaking for no more than 3 minutes and only on topics under the purview of the school committee. And whether you're here in person or on Zoom, please state your name and address for the record. Public comment?
Good evening. My name is Ellen Tubman of 38 Hearthstone Drive. I speak to you tonight wearing 3 hats. As a Medfield resident of 36 years, a parent of former Medfield students, and the district department chair of 4 word languages. In 1990, my husband and I, both lifelong educators, chose Medfield specifically for the reputation of its schools. We moved here, raised our children here, and eventually I joined the faculty at Medfield High School. We continue to support the Medfield Public Schools in several ways. For us, the fit between the town's values and our own has been perfect. 15 years ago, I was asked to help build an elementary world language program from the ground up. I jumped at the chance because we all know what research says. Early exposure is the key to true proficiency, flexible thinking, and brain development. Over these 15 years, we haven't just taught vocabulary. We've built a learning environment where students gain confidence and empathy. Our program aligns perfectly with Medfield's core values of inclusivity, respect, responsibility, and continuous growth. As the coordinator for the Massachusetts State Seal of Biliteracy for the district and the teacher who launched our AP Spanish program in 2006, I can state unequivocally our outstanding AP scores and biliteracy honors are a direct result of the foundation laid in our elementary schools. Unlike other districts that gatekeep with honors courses to pad their statistics, Medfield has chosen a path of equity, allowing every student access to high-quality language learning at a young age. Now this gem of a program is at risk. We are talking about dismantling a 15-year legacy that was built on the tireless work of several passionate educators. The cost savings from 3.4 FTE positions do not begin to offset the immense loss of opportunity for our children. Cutting this program doesn't just save a line item, it lowers the ceiling for what our students can achieve for the rest of their lives. Budget cuts are often discussed in numbers, but these decisions have a permanent impact on our community's identity and the potential of our children. Cutting elementary world language would diminish the very values of inclusivity and growth we claim to uphold. I urge you to protect this program we have so carefully nurtured for our students' future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Any other public input? Are there any hands raised on Zoom? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yep.
Good evening. My name is Kevin DiLorenzo, and I live at 6 Rockwell Lane. I just wanted to share what my wife and I are seeing at home with the schedule, the new schedule regarding the children. The older kids are going later, and our youngest is now going much, much earlier. I know there have always been 2 start times, but shifting the older students later has changed how this actually plays out for families, especially my family. In our case, my older son is still up early anyway because his younger brother has to be. So the extra sleep piece isn't really happening. At the same time, everything at the end of the day is now pushed later. Getting home, getting ready, going to activities, homework, and then subsequently bedtime, which is now pushed. By the end of it, he's just wiped out. So it feels like we've added the downside without really getting the benefit. That's really my concern. It sounds good in theory, but in practice, it's not working the way it was intended. I just ask that real parent feedback be part of how this is evaluated going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You said there was somebody on Zoom?
There is. Should I kind of promote?
Yes, please.
Can I promote them? Owen, could you promote Rich Judge, please?
You can address them.
Okay, Mr. Judge?
Hi, can you
Yep.
hear me?
We can hear you, yep.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. Before we start the clock, I'd like to ask the chair for one more minute of time, since the school committee took it from me on the March 5th meeting.
Your 3 minutes has started, Mr. Judge.
Thank you for not allowing me the extra minute that was taken from me originally on the 5th meeting, on the 5th. First, I'd like to congratulate the overwhelming victory of Mike McCabe and Roselli Weiss, who had the majority of voters behind them on Election Day. These voters sent a clear message that there was no place for insulting comments and hand gestures at the school committee meetings. A place where every member must set a good example for the students of Medfield. As for the 3 remaining school committee members and our school administrator, the continued lack of public apology is a black mark on the committee, but also something the town will not stand for. With budget issues looming, it amazes me and many others that this school committee, minus the 2 new school committee members, does not use the town attorney. Instead, over the past 5 years, we've spent close to $100,000 on outside counsel just for this school committee. And doesn't include another $100,000 attorney fees for special education representation, and right now, $55,000 that have been put aside for budgeted for next year. That's equivalent to one teacher's salary. Who are these attorneys? If it's a legal firm that gave you legal advice to remain silent at the March 26th meeting, then I want our money back. Did these attorneys advise you to chop the March 5th meeting minutes so they were void of any information of what truly transpired on the 5th? They may be going back on the excuse that the public input is not actually part of the meeting. I heard some whisper of that, which is really ridiculous. But with the finger that was given to the public, that happened in the middle of the meeting. And what I guess you're saying is that never happened either. Don't these legal advisors have the moral obligation to denounce what was said and the actions that took place? I'm concerned that it may not have been legal advice, that it may have been arrogance from the school committee members and the school administrator who failed to have the courage to stand against what transpired last month. Of course, instead of exhibiting courage, the chair took it upon herself to send an email on March 27th. That was the day after we met on the 26th, with great chagrin as to what happened on the 5th.
Your time's up, Mr. Judge. Thank you.
Mrs. Chair, you did not give me a 30-second warning.
I don't believe I said I was doing that at the beginning of this.
You did the last meeting, and now this one you're cutting me off.
I'm not cutting you off, sir. Your time is up.
But I was asked for an extra minute, and I was also asked for a 30-second warning.
I gave you an extra 45 seconds. I think we're
Thank
you're
you.
more than welcome to
I
email us.
appreciate that.
Email me your thoughts, please. Thank you. Thank you.
The voters have overwhelmingly
Thank you, Mr.
decided
Judge.
a major change in this board was due. And I'm thankful
Mr. Judge,
to
your time is
see
up.
two new
Thank
faces
you.
tonight.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room or online?
Nobody online, Madam Chair.
All right, we will go on to the consent agenda. So the consent agenda this evening, we are going to, I've asked that the minutes from the March 26th meeting to be tabled and looked at for an upcoming meeting. I'm also going to pull the executive session minutes and have us vote on those separately. So the consent agenda for this evening includes Medfield High School Student Awards for Graduate, 1 David E. Medeiros Theater Society Memorial Award for $1,250, 1 David E. Medeiros Theater Society Memorial Award for $2,500, 1 Student Council Award for $500, 2 Unsung Leader Awards at $250 each for a total of $500, 12 National Honor Society Awards at $300 each for a total of $3,600, 1 Hunter Williams Scholarship Award for $1,000, 1 Lasting Legacy Yearbook Award at $500 each for a total of $500, 3 Yearbook Staff Initiative Awards at $500 each for a total of $1,500, and donations in the amount of $292.47 from Bright Funds to be deposited into the Wheelock School gift account. Does anyone have any questions or comments on anything in the consent agenda? Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated?
So moved.
Second.
We're going to have to take a roll call vote for everything this evening because we have a member on Zoom. So Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Leo Brem, yes.
Sophia Viglis, yes.
Michael McCabe, yes.
Rosalie?
Rosalie Weiss, yes.
Okay, thank you. So next up, we'll vote on the executive session minutes separately. Does anyone have any question on the executive session minutes? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve and retain March 26, 2026 executive session meeting minutes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Leo Brem, yes.
Sophia Viglis, yes.
Michael McCabe, abstain.
Rosalie Weiss, abstain.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. At this time, we're looking to fill the role of vice chair. We'll follow our usual process of nominations, seconds, and any discussion before the vote. I'll open the floor for nominations for a vice chair. Okay, happy to start. I'd like to nominate Leo.
Second?
Okay. Are there any additional nominations for vice chair? Okay, seeing no additional nominations, we'll close the nomination at this time. Any discussion about the vice chair position?
I'd like to discuss my compensation. No, I guess not. Just kidding.
Okay, so we'll move to a vote for Leo as vice chair. I'd like to make a motion for Leo to be the vice chair.
Make a motion for Leo to be the vice chair.
Second, Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Leo Brem, yes.
Sophia Viglis, yes.
Michael McCabe, yes.
Rosalie Weiss, yes.
Okay, prior to this, Leo was the recording secretary, so we'll now do the same thing for recording secretary. So I'll open the floor for nominations for recording secretary.
I nominate Sophia Viglis.
Financial secretary.
I nominate Michael McCabe.
Second, any additional nominations for recording secretary? Okay, Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Leo Brem, yes.
Sophia Viglis, yes.
Michael McCabe, yes.
Rosalie Weiss, yes.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll move on to the high school student advisory. Sophia?
Thanks. So spring season is upon us, so we have a few conflicts. So I think we have a couple fill-ins and maybe not a couple fill-ins, but that's okay. We're gonna figure it all out. Do we want to start with Ellery and start with the 9th grade? Switch it. Oh, okay, we're gonna start with Hillary.
I'll start.
Hillary, seniors, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I will be talking for Athena tonight because she's at her lacrosse game. First, I want to start off by saying that senior project has started, so we're currently in week 2. The websites and blogs are now live for the public, so I'm sure we can share them with everyone. For my project, I'm taking my small business that I've had since 4th grade. It's a jewelry and accessories business, and I'm making it into a sustainable brand by creating a business plan and analyzing finances and more. And talking about Wayfinder, overall, a lot of people are really enjoying it. Today we did one about financial goals, which I thought was great because it was really important to be thinking about, especially going into college, even though sometimes it can be an uncomfortable and awkward conversation. For student government, they're finalizing their budget, and they're exploring their options for a senior surprise, which is something that they provide for after class day. And then on the student council side, Kindness Week is coming up, where student council writes compliments for every student and every teacher at the high school, which is kind of a nice way to end the year.
Are all the senior projects listed on like one place for people to look? I've seen.
There is.
Okay, so there's like.
Yeah,
one
there's a
section.
doc that
Okay.
has everyone's links.
'Cause I've seen some random ones posted in the
A
community.
link to their
but-
website,
okay.
yeah.
Any other questions?
No, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, I'm Ellery Deshays, and I'm the 9th grade representative to school committee. Looking back on my freshman year so far, I've learned a lot about what it takes to be successful in high school. One of my biggest things that I've learned is how important it is to manage my time and stay on top of my work. Getting assignments done early and not procrastinating makes a huge difference. I've also learned that prioritizing sleep is really important. It helps you stay focused and do better in classes and feel less stress overall. Another thing that really helped me is developing better study habits and staying organized. At the beginning of the year, I didn't realize how important that would be, but over time I've seen how much it impacts my success. I would also tell my September self that to not be afraid and ask for help or meet with teachers. Communicating with my teachers and getting extra help when I need it can really make a difference, and meeting with peer tutors is also really helpful. In addition to academics, our class recently had a great opportunity to come together through a Kids Night Out fundraising event, which took place Friday, March 27th at Medfield High School. 50 freshman volunteers welcomed over 200 students from Dale and Wheelock. Everyone enjoyed pizza, games, face painting, crafts, and movies. We had many donations from the community, which was extremely helpful, and through the support, the class of 2029 raised $5,300. It was a really fun night, not only for the kids, but for the volunteers as well as, and creating a great bonding experience for our class. Overall, Kids Night Out was a big success and a meaningful way for us to work together and give back to the community. Thanks.
Kids Night Out was awesome.
Yeah.
We were nervous for you guys. I'm not gonna lie. Like all that line, and
Yeah.
as parents and those of us that did Dale Kids Night Out, we're like, oh gosh, good luck.
Yes.
But it was awesome. Our
I
kids had a
heard great
blast.
things about it. No, that's a great idea. Fantastic.
Thank you.
We don't have 10th and 11th grade, right? They have conflicts. Okay, that's all right. That's all right. Well, it's spring sports season. It's difficult. It has started.
Well, thank you
Thank
to
you.
thank you to the students. We'll move on to the Girl Scout storage shed on school property. Okay, great. There was a memo in your packet about this. Yeah, you could come up and take the podium. Thank you so much. Huh?
Is there an issue with the Zoom link? There's an email that came through that said there's access denied right here.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
Ellen.
you. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm going to turn the floor over to you if you could
27
talk
in
to us
right
about the Girl Scout shed.
Yeah, my name's Leah Saccone. I'm one of the Girl Scout troop leaders in town. So on behalf of the Medfield Girl Scouts, we were going to respectfully request approval to place a small storage shed of 100 square feet or less on school property. So unlike the Boy Scouts who currently utilize a storage space on St. Edward's property, the Girl Scouts have no religious affiliation, so therefore we're seeking a public location for this. The shed would reduce the operating costs for the Girl Scouts and allow continued support for school field trips, town events, and service activities. The shed would be fully funded, insured, and maintained by the Girl Scouts, and we just want to thank you for your consideration for this. And I think once we get approval that would be okay to put on a town property, we can get like the specs and specifics nailed down. We just didn't want to go too far unless we got approval, so thank you.
Is there where? As you said on Wheelock, is there an idea of where-ish?
So we were hoping Wheelock. I mean, that certainly can be decided where it fits best in the schools. We thought Wheelock might be a good place for it because with doing the Rocky Wood stuff, if there's anything that they maintain or have, might be a good spot for it to house some of this stuff. It really doesn't matter where. We just would like to do that instead of we're currently paying right now for a storage space like $1,500 a year for a storage unit. So it would be a more long-term solution that would be cost-saving for the Girl Scouts. We don't have that kind of money. We're not really getting funding from anywhere, so it would just be really great so we could have stuff to do more service projects with that money instead of dishing that out every year. So.
Is this a shed that you build, or is it something that's already created?
So we'd be probably looking to get some sort of permanent structure, whether it would be like a metal structure or a wood structure, or whatever the school would be okay with us having on site. We just want to have something to store the Girl Scout stuff, some of the camping gear, pots and pans, some of like the crafting stuff, just to sort of have it all in one location instead of wasting our money on the storage unit that it seems like we've been doing. So, and Boy Scouts does have a shed. That's sort of where we got the idea. We were looking to cut costs because we're sort of in a bind with our funding right now.
Dr. Marsden, do we have any precedent on something like that?
Sure, we have other outside groups that have space. We have, MCP has space. I think MMA might have space as well. There's definitely precedent there. It's just really, we would normally approve it, but the new policy that you folks passed has to go through you first, so.
Yep.
We would have just approved it, but.
No, and I
Yeah.
remember previous organization inquiring
And we
as
did
well.
reach out to the buildings department. They said that if it's 120 square feet or less, that they don't need to get involved, and that would be our plan anyways.
That's
We
good
would
news.
keep it smaller, like a 10 by 12 would be the max we would need anyways, hopefully.
That's good news.
So what are the criteria for having a shed on school property?
We typically, when we're asked by an outside group, we want to be supportive to them. So if they work with the schools generally and use the materials as part of something that's connected to the schools, like our students or a program, then we typically allow them to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I think that's where we were hoping maybe Wheelock might be amenable to that, because they do help with Rocky Woods and whether it's storing some of the stuff or just because they do have an affiliation with helping out with the field trip every year. We were thinking that might be a great location to have a shed, just because the Girl Scouts sort of do help out with that too.
Yeah, and knowing the facilities myself, I feel like that's probably the space with the most, the property with the most space that will not be impacted by hopefully forthcoming construction.
And that's great that you don't have to involve the town, because I think that was, we were required to put in some sheds, I think, 2 years ago, Michael? Yeah, and we had to go through the whole permitting process because it was bigger than the 10 by 12, so that's great.
Yeah, I spoke with Scott today, so he
Perfect.
just gave us that go-ahead as long as it's the sizing. So I guess if we do get approval, then we would probably speak directly with whichever, through school committee or superintendent or the schools directly to figure out placing and like what type of structure makes sense for the school, because we don't want to do anything that wouldn't go with what they wanted.
I think, working with Michael and Kevin Madden, the principal over there, would be perfect.
Okay,
Yeah,
great,
that'd be
thank
great.
you so much.
Does have any questions?
I don't.
Yep.
No. You need a motion?
Yep.
Motion to approve the Girl Scouts to place a storage shed on a site to be determined by the school department.
Second. Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Leah Brem, yes.
Sophia Bigos, yes.
Michael McCabe, yes.
Rosalie Weiss, yes.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. All right, any other items since posting on April 7th, Dr. Marston?
I do not have any, Madam Chair.
Okay, moving on to old business, we have FY '27 budget update. Let's see. The first thing we'll be discussing is the 3.64 or 3.6% recommended increase, and discussing that as a committee and voting that as our new number, recognizing that this is not level service and also below the superintendent's recommended budget, but we want to have a number to go forward with for our budget. So anyone have any questions or comments on that?
So I included in your packet a list of reductions to consider. I'd like to, if you want me to, I'd like to go through them a little bit and maybe have a conversation around that. So we looked at, Michael and I and the leadership team have looked at all different ways to get to the 3.64 number. And we think this is a viable way to do it, although again, it's not gonna make everyone in the world happy. But I think it's a way to kind of go through this systematically and get to where we need to be. So the total amount of cuts to get to that number would be 609,000. So we did that with a combination of payroll and non-payroll reductions, looking at staffing, and it's a little bit different than the last one that we did at our last meeting. We've gotten some additional information. We've had a couple of resignations for next year that would help us out as well in this. So that's why there's a couple of changes in here. So we looked at a 0.5 central office administrative assistant, and then to Ellen's point earlier today, earlier in the meeting, we looked at a reduction of Mandarin teacher at both Dale Street and Wheelock. And the thought behind that is we presently have about 14% of our kids enrolled in Mandarin at the elementary level. And it's an expensive program for 14%, so that's kind of where we're looking at it. Most of our students take Spanish and have always taken Spanish, so I think that's kind of what we're looking at. The next reduction.
We're able to salvage some of the program itself, just not Mandarin.
Right, so what you don't see on here is elementary Spanish.
Right.
Not recommending that as a reduction.
I do agree with the person in open comment about the importance of that language piece.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have a high school English teacher, which candidly was in my 3.99 to begin with. So that was already there in the 3.9 recommendation. We had a resignation of a teacher in Wheelock in second grade. We looked at all the numbers, potential students for next year, enrollment, and class sizes. We thought it made sense to move a teacher from fourth grade at Dale Street into this position to keep the numbers lower in second grade. That's a much larger class. And fourth grade right now for next year is the smallest group. So we looked at moving a teacher from Dale to Wheelock. Steve has talked to teachers, asked for volunteers, a couple that are very interested that wanted to teach in a lower grade level. So that would be that reduction there. So it end up being that's why Dale Street's in parentheses, because it end up being a reduction at Dale Street, not at Wheelock. We have retirement in the high school social studies department, and we have a reduction there. We also have a recent resignation in the high school social studies department. And then the savings that we have from our memorial retirements. Now, one caveat with the Mandarin, there is potential because we may need a 1.0 Mandarin teacher at the high school. There's a potential that person could work in that position, but there's nothing definite there. So essentially what we're looking at as we go through the 4.55, we're looking at essentially one person losing their position. If we go through the 3.64, the way we've done it now with retirements and folks that have resigned and that type of thing. So that, coming out of it with one, obviously losing 4.55 positions, but if that Mandarin teacher were to go into the upper levels, if that works out, then it would only be one person, which would be the English teacher, would be the reduction. Now, the high school English teacher is the reduction. They'll be bumping all the way through, so I'm not sure where that ends up. It's probably gonna end up with a middle school teacher actually not having the position after the bumping. And a lot of this is going through it, especially if the override doesn't go through. Then we're looking at a reduction of 9 more people, and then that's when the bumping is really difficult to it's all over the place. People are bumping others out depending on what their certification is, seniority, et cetera. So we think that this is, if, again, the Mandarin goes through and it's one person too many, but compared to what it could be, I think that's a good solution here. And then we looked at the non-payroll, so eliminate the paid committee work. That was in there last time with Unit A. There's a change in the summer PD Unit A, which is the R&D. We feel like we wanted to add money back into that. We originally had a $30,000 cut there. We feel like with the elementary literacy program, it's going to be really critical for some of our teachers to work over the summer to do some of that work and plan for that so they can hit the ground running. So we wanted to put money back into that. We're not sure, obviously, if it's going to pass at town meeting, but this is anticipating that, so we'd have additional funding there to get teachers to work on that. And then the IT district software, that's one that I know that is, the warrant committee asked us to cut that $30,000 out because it's being made up on the town side in Owen's budget on the town side. So that was a no-brainer for us, just take the $30,000 out of there. So that gets us to the 609,836 and gets us to the 3.64. As I said, if the override fails, the total reduction would be 13.55 positions, and there'd be an additional 9 positions if the override fails. And those are on, I forget what meeting it was, the priority list that you folks had approved the last time around. So we really wanted to keep it to the 3.6 tonight, ask you to approve that 3.6 number. I'm not asking you to approve these cuts. I'm asking you to approve the 3.6 number. We can still discuss these cuts as we go forward, but this is how we got to it. And I think it's really important for the town to all be together at 3.64, so we can kind of move forward with that, so the warrant committee, select board, school committee are all together on this, and we can, really work hard the next few weeks to educate the folks and get people to the polls in the town meeting to support the override. So I'd ask you for the 3.6. I know it wasn't what you originally voted and what you currently have as the 5.02, but I think looking long-term for the good of everything with the town and the viability of this override, it makes sense for us to go in with a 3.64%.
So it sounds like with whatever cuts you're asking for, it would not impact class size at the elementary level?
It would. The only reduction that would impact class size is the grade 2 position that was a resignation moving a fourth grade teacher over to grade 2 would impact fourth grade class size, but it would not impact it as much as that reduction stayed in second grade.
And with the Mandarin, sometimes you can have a program that's, I mean, it wouldn't necessarily destroy the program, it would simply remove the personnel. Is that my understanding correct?
It would remove it from the elementary school, but it would still be in the middle school and high school.
Okay, thank you.
So I don't love the 3.64, add that 0.04 part.
Right.
But I do think that, and I sat and I actually watched the town meeting from 2018 when there were two different propositions, and thought a lot about it and like listened to their conversations and things. But I do think that we're in a very different position than we were in 2018, both like I think financially, and I think things are tighter everywhere. And I think our town is in a little bit of a different position than things were like in 2018, just sort of in terms of cohesiveness and community. So I am for like a unified front, and I'm nervous about having an override and having cuts. It doesn't feel good, which I know is the reason that why the school committee had recommended something different in 2018. I don't think we're in the same sort of climate and environment to do that. So I guess I'm for the 3.64 because I do think it's what's best for the town as a whole. I don't necessarily think it's what's best for the schools. I have some questions about some of the cuts, so I don't know if like this is the time for that, but I do have some
Yeah, no,
questions.
start it
Yeah,
now,
it is.
yeah.
I think, so I definitely hear that, I think offering multiple languages is an awesome thing. And I do think that my understanding, and Dr. Marsden, correct me if I'm wrong, is that offering the 2 languages at Wheelock at least also does have an impact on like class placement.
Sure does.
So I do think that like there is a benefit to not having 2 languages and getting to have more flexibility in terms of this group of students with this teacher is the best fit versus we have to do this because of a language. That doesn't feel like the best interest of all kids. So there's a benefit to that. I don't know if benefit's the right word, but I do think that it does help with that. I guess a question I have is like when I think about positions, like the first thing I think about is not student facing, and just like I don't think our district has a lot of bloat, I guess for lack of a better word. But I wonder more about some, like as I sat there and just like read through each line item, just thoughts on other non-student facing, whether they were more like office administrative positions, more like non-teacher not teacher student facing positions, and just sort of a thought to keeping some of those that versus like a teacher. I don't know how specific I should.
No, I mean, I think that's a fair point. I mean, I think that's a very fair point. I mean, I think one of the things that, you know, the people that, for instance, you know, someone asked me why aren't there teaching assistants in there? You know, why aren't teaching assistants a part of it? A couple of reasons. They serve, you know, many roles in the district to keep it moving, right? They also don't make a lot of money, right? So if you when you're making up 600,000 or 1.4 million, you know, you unfortunately have to minimize the impact on kids. You have to really reduce folks that have those salaries in the teacher range, right? I mean, that's what we're trying to look at. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some. We went through all of that. I mean, we don't have a lot of administrative assistants in our district. We just don't, and they wear many hats in the schools. So I feel like, you know, by removing, and if you notice, the last rendition did have an administrative assistant, and this one doesn't, because, you know, looking at, you know, what the daily operations of the district, you know, they're pretty vital in that. So, yeah, I mean, it's a fair question for sure. But we went through, I mean, leadership, we went through all this to try to make the least amount of impact for the student experience, for student opportunities, for class size, all of that. We've gone through a lot of that. I mean, that, like I said, you're not voting on the cuts, and we can certainly talk about those, you know, in the next couple of meetings, but.
You just want the number voted on this evening, and we have more
Right, the-
opportunity to discuss exactly
Right.
what those items would be.
Right, exactly.
And we thought it was important too, at this point in the game, to start talking about what the
What-
cuts
what
could
potential,
be,
yeah.
right? My question, I guess, is a little about when we look at the 4th and the 6th grade. So we have 9 second grade teachers right now,
Yes.
and how many 4th grade teachers?
Same, but it's really about the kids, the number
No,
of
I
kids.
see that, but, and so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
recognize the class size right
Yeah.
now for the 3rd grade, you know, is at 186.
Right.
But the 2nd grade's at 202, so next year, are we trying to add a teacher back to the 4th grade, or is that the 4th grade just
Oh, no,
gonna
no,
be-
that's the fourth grade would be down one teacher. Because
So-
they have the smallest, they're the smallest group
So
going
the
through.
class size then coming in will be manageable next year, but then the following year, we're looking at a pretty big bump.
Well, we're talking about next year though, right?
I
Yeah,
understand
we're
that.
gonna have to move stuff around the following year too. I mean, this isn't a one-year problem for us. This is a multi-year issue. And then we have that big group coming in, so yeah, we're gonna have to juggle staff around to make it work at the elementary level if we want to keep class sizes the way they are.
So
For
we're
sure.
looking at this for a solution for next year.
For next
And
year.
then when we look at the enrollments for the following year, we would adjust.
We do that every year. Yeah,
Okay.
we would adjust it. We have to.
And that's why I asked the initial question about the class size. But I understand that you have to do it the following year, and each year you have to rethink the size of the classes and where the teachers are assigned.
Right. Exactly.
Mike?
You know, it stinks to be talking about cuts during my first meeting, not that we didn't see, you know, this coming. I appreciate the work of, you know, Jeff and his team. I know it's hard work, and it is difficult to make these decisions, but I'm also mindful of the cuts that are happening in other districts around the state right now, and, you know, losing Mandarin is not something I'm a fan of, but in terms of number of FTEs, I think you guys have done a good job of identifying appropriate ways to make this as least impactful on our student body as possible. So recognizing that, you know, again, the cuts still remain open for discussion over the next couple of meetings, I definitely support the number.
Well, I'm comfortable with the 3.64 as, you know, as discussed, you know, based on the work you've done, Dr. Marston, so I commend you and the team for doing that. You know, obviously, I think there's going to be work ahead. I do believe that there's, you know, still concern. I do like some of the moves that were made. I had obviously lengthy emails with Steve Callahan from Warrant, and a healthy conversation with Mike Pastore this morning. You know, and as we were talking about the future and the concerns, I think we all share the same concerns about, you know, appropriate planning for the community as a whole. And obviously we're a large part of that, of course. And so, you know, I think, you know, we all share the same concerns with the future of the project, the Dale Street project, and as well as, you know, the operating budgets for the next few years and how those coincide and work with each other. So, you know, I do commend the warrant committee for taking some foresight on that. And I think that, you know, we're going to have to take it year by year to make sure we can get across the finish line. You know, it never really is a finish line, is there? So, but get it to a way that we can still afford to, you know, many can afford to live here, and as well as operate our schools the way they need to be operated. So, so I do support the 3.64 for this year, but I can't support any commitment for the future years. Which I know wasn't the ask, but.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on this? Are we ready to vote the number?
Yeah, I think it's important to obviously choose the number this evening and to come out as a unified group. And as Dr. Marsden said, we can fiddle around a little bit with exactly what we would have to cut, and maybe there are still ways to retain as much as possible. I do thank everyone who was involved in the hard work that is represented by having to make cuts.
Dr. one question. What happens in the event of a failure of the override on May 4th? And what kind of action items would you need from this committee immediately following?
Yeah, I think we'd have to look at voting the 1.8%, which would be the warrant committee recommended budget within the Prop 2.5 structure. And then we'd look at additional reductions. That gets us almost 1.3 million in reductions at that point. So we're at the 609,000, almost 610 right now. That would get us to about so double what we're doing, a little more than double what we're doing. So my sense is we'd have to have some sort of meeting before our next scheduled one in May and kind of go through some of that. That's my guess.
How do we get the information out to the community in a way that lets them know how important it is to come to the polls, to vote, or to do it at the meeting? Mike and I certainly haven't been on the committee to know what has already been discussed, but I wonder what other communicative tools we use to help the community make a good decision.
So we have our State of the Schools mailer that goes home. We're doing something a little different this year due to the cost. So we're doing a State of the Schools postcard that will go to every resident in town that will have pertinent information on it, and will have a link to how to get to the electronic version of the State of the Schools. It's going to save us a few $1,000s doing that. And then we are going to post that online, have everyone, make sure they have access to it, and then we're going to do some hard copies of that. So instead of doing the thousands that we do, we're going to do probably about 100 or so, have them available at COA, have them available at the library, so that folks can look at them if they don't have access or don't want to look at it in an electronic version. And then we'll send home information through Parent Square, and then post things. Our website has our entire budget on it, so we'll have all that information still, and continue to update that as we go through the process.
Is there any, I had some neighbors say that they remembered there being like pop-up sessions around the 2018 override.
Yeah, that was the concern I shared when we met the other day, is that last time we did this, we had all those sessions by now. Like
Yeah,
this-
no,
like
that's
this is late, right? So we had all those sessions by now. Why I was really hoping that you guys would vote this tonight so we can get some of this stuff going. I mean, I met with folks at the Kingsbury Club, we did neighborhood stuff, we did a lot of pop-up type activities,
So
so.
I guess my question is like, or will we plan some of that now after this vote? And how can we like join with select board and warrant committee to maybe plan some together? Has that conversation happened, or?
I think the working group had a conversation around that. Yeah, they had the last meeting to do something as a more public forum for everyone in the town, and the schools would be a part of that in April. That's what we had talked about.
We had talked about
We
that,
haven't, we
yes.
haven't got that group together yet, again, since that last time, but that was what was talked about. This decision about the override was made a lot earlier in 2018, and we were doing a lot of work by now. So that's some of my concern, is that some of that hasn't happened, and we need to get moving. So.
I think reaching out to the community is really important, and hopefully we'll have time to do some of it anyway. I think people aren't always aware or don't educate themselves as to what is happening and what will happen based on their vote.
So the working group will take that over, I guess. Sorry, that's like what would
We don't
next
have
steps?
another scheduled meeting, so
Okay.
I'm not sure. I mean, I know that Michelle, Leo, and I met with PTO presidents and MCPE and CPAC and all those folks last week, so we had that conversation. So I think, hopefully we can get that group moving. And
I think there's momentum there. So I think it's, tapping into your networks, and, it's, the weather's getting better, and, soccer sidelines conversations, and, things of that nature, so.
In terms of the discussion with MCPE and CPAC and PTO, and just to state perhaps the obvious out loud, the ask for them was to reach out to their members, engage their members, educate those folks, and, okay.
But I think what we thought in the working group, that is important for the entire community, right, not just parents.
Yeah.
So, I think that was what was coming out of the working group, and, get everyone involved, and not just the parents that send kids to the schools, but everybody.
I guess that's my ask of the working group. I don't know if it's an appropriate ask, right? But it feels like to figure out some next steps. I'm happy to be available, to sort of pick a day, to sort of have some places, but it feels like it's April 9th and it's in less than a month, and there's a vacation week thrown in there that a lot of people probably won't be, around. So I think that we're sort of we need to get some dates and some action items is what it feels like.
Agreed.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think we're in a space right now where time is really tight. I know Dr. Mars and I have talked about sending out communication to the parents, right? I feel like people need to hear stuff at least 3 times before they start paying attention. I mean, I think from a pop-up standpoint, I think it's on everybody to start being able to get people together, right? Similar to what Leo said in regards to soccer sidelines in that space, and less of a smaller group trying to organize the whole town together, right? Like, everybody needs to be in a space to do this and communicate the information and get people to town meeting and to the polls in June.
I think maybe if I don't mind taking a stab at it, but my graphic design skills and AI together might be able to pull together something you could print off and hand out if you wanted off a home printer. But I think that's something quick to email to people, and quick information card of what's at stake for both town and schools. Remember, this is an operating override for both the town and schools, so all services would be impacted for both town and schools. And I would say, the warrant committee and the schools, have worked together and will commitment to work together. Everyone knows this is not a one-year thing, right? This is multiple years, and there is a plan in place to kind of tackle the next year as well and the following year. So I think, which is great, because future planning is always difficult, and so that fact that we have one similar to the 2018 override, which was the last time we had to go for one. So if you think about that planning went well. So I think, there is a certain amount of trust that people can put in that, and that probably could be included in the, in this information. So I think that's important to bring up. So having those talking points in hand, so you have them, especially to our new members of the committee who obviously been watching it from the outside in and now here as well. I think it's important to supply them with that information as well as myself, even on the soccer sideline. So.
Like the school
Motion.
spirit.
I know. Yeah, sorry. This is nice timing.
Are you looking for a motion, Madam Chair?
Yes.
All right. A motion to approve the Dr. Marston's recommended 3.6 for budget.
Oh, yeah. Yep, sorry.
I guess we should open up to public
Yeah.
info.
Yep, Chris, go ahead.
I just think it's, looking back at the 2018 various school committee meetings, there was a lot of dialogue that happened at those meetings. The school committee, the chair opened it up to the community, it opened it up to people to ask questions and to actually be engaged in this and not just go ahead and cast the votes. We talk about wanting to have community engagement. We talk about wanting to have people involved in this conversation. And the environment that is created here at the school committee right now does not lend itself to that. And it's really disappointing. For people getting cut off, people not having the opportunity to speak, not even just proactively inviting people to, knowing that your policy allows people to speak up before a vote. You actually force people to do something that I have to do tonight and say, wait a minute, how about asking people for their opinion tonight before you vote? I also think that, there are opportunities coming up. You have a Superintendent Advisory Council meeting coming up. Great opportunity to open up that to the community instead of having it be just parents. So there's a lot of talk, but not a lot of walk when it comes to community engagement. And I'm really, really hoping that changes, because it's not acceptable the way this is happening. You only want to invite the community to be engaged in the schools when you're looking for an override. It's not okay. It has to happen every single day of the year, because you talk about wanting to build trust. You can't build trust when you do it this way. It just doesn't work that way in communications or in public relations. It doesn't work. So there's a lot of work that this committee needs to do to build true community engagement and trust. And I would say I would be incredibly motivated to pull together some kind of a public forum on this budget because it is complicated. It's not just the amount that you want to increase it. There's the override. There's the overrides fund that's being created. It's very complicated. And we're going to have I guarantee we'll have 2 back-to-back meetings if people do not have a general understanding of how this whole thing works. So I would really advocate for people to get together, pull together a forum to explain how this is going to work, even just the bare bones basics, because it's going to be a really difficult town meeting. The rose-colored glasses on 2018, that 6% increase came out of the blue, ticked off select board, ticked off the warrant committee. It was not this rosy, gee, we did all these great things to communicate. There were a lot of angry people at that time. I don't want to see that happen again. I don't want to see the divisiveness. We need to have a conversation about the budget, and we need to have true community engagement. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else have any public comment about the budget before we move to a vote on the number? Okay, thank you, Owen.
Ed Vizella, 65 Woodend Lane. You know me because I'm on the warrant committee, but I just want to commend Superintendent Marsden, Assistant Superintendent Mr. Francesca on the tremendous amount of work that they have done. It's painful to try to go through and decide how you're going to cut over $600,000. And I know you've gone through multiple iterations, and I've seen the different changes, and it's become more and more refined. I think the way you just explained how you were going to arrive at that 3.64 was very creative, thoughtful, and I commend you for that. I do agree that we do need a public forum, if we can, as soon as possible. I will talk to Steve on the way home and see if we can get the small group together and start trying to get a date. This has to pass. We cannot afford to let this slip away and have to cut. It's about $1,430,000, so it's about an $800,000 difference. We can't let that happen to our school system. You know, I love the school system. I've been working with Mike on the budgets for several years now. We've just got to make this work. So I thank you for voting the way you did for the school committee. Thank you very much. And thank you to all the administration and the principals and everyone who worked on that list. Thanks.
Thank you, Ed.
So there's someone online?
Yes. Owen, can you promote Stephanie?
Hi, sorry, I'm not sure if you can see me. Stephanie Goodwin, 167 Pine Street. I just wanted to say that the budget presentation put forward by Dr. Marsden sounds great. I think you guys have done a really good job. I've heard some committee members mention maybe fiddling with the way that the budget is put forward, and just from a community engagement standpoint, a lot of people are just looking for the facts, the clear cuts of what's going to happen. And so I would just encourage, if those conversations happen about changing anything that was put forward in Dr. Marsden's budget, that happens sooner rather than later, so that those facts can be put out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Anyone else? Anyone else in here? Actually,
Try
no
again?
video. Yep.
Okay. Sure. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve Dr. Marsden's 3.64 budget as presented.
Second.
Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Leo Brem, yes.
Sophia Viglas, yes.
Michael McCabe, yes.
Rosalie Weiss, yes, but I also want to make sure that we do that communication. I think that would be very helpful, but yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next part of the budget discussion had to do with the school-sponsored warrant articles for town meeting. Sorry. So I think what we had was article, and I know the numbers, they still might change, or are they set?
They're set.
Okay. So let's see. We had already voted to sponsor Article 20, which was the appropriation for literacy curriculum. So tonight we need to discuss and vote Article 19, which is the elementary school tax mitigation stabilization fund appropriation. Does anyone have, do you want to comment on this, or does anyone have questions about this? Wait for Leo to get back.
Okay.
So Michael will be presenting the updated capital. We're waiting for the warrant to come out and have all the articles there, so Michael will do that presentation when Leo comes back, and we'll go through that too.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't have you vote that before, we're waiting for all that to be finalized and everything, so. I think it's important to just talk a little bit about the capital, and I know Michael will do a great job with it, but it is different than our operating budget, so you might see some of the items that are on there, and we're talking about reducing staff, but then we also have capital that's there too, and they're just two different buckets. And they're, you know, we can't use capital funds for staffing, we just can't do that. So I just want folks to understand that we can't just take the capital, not do the capital, and then take that money and use it for staffing. It's not the way it works, so we can't do that. Here comes Leo. I've ad-libbed as much as I can.
Okay. We were talking about Article 19, the elementary school tax mitigation stabilization fund appropriation. And if you had any questions about it before we move to vote to sponsor it, we've already voted to sponsor Article 20, which is the appropriation for literacy curriculum. We did that at the prior meeting.
Yes, I liked it. I don't know what you already discussed, I apologize.
We didn't, we voted for it.
Oh. Held up.
Okay. Is there any public comment on Article 19 and the elementary school tax mitigation stabilization fund appropriation before we vote to sponsor it? Is there anyone online?
No one at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion for the school committee to support Article 19, the elementary school tax mitigation stabilization fund appropriation.
So moved.
Second.
Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Leo Rem, yes.
Sophia Viglas, yes.
Michael McCabe, yes.
Rosalie Weiss, yes.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to, Capitol Building.
Right.
Capital budget request, yes.
Article 10, Article 12.
All right, so I'm going to just go through, there's two articles that support capital. One is Article 10, which is the capital budget non-buildings. And then there's Article 12, which would be capital budget for municipal buildings. So we do have items on both Article 10 and Article 12. We'll start with Article 10. Our technology items are under Article 10, and that was set up a few years ago. I want to say at least 7 or 8 years ago, when the Capital Committee under I believe at that time it was Mike Mercucci, felt that any technology items that were 5 years or greater should be taken out of the operational budget and put into a capital budget. So back then, that was one of the changes that was made, and so moving forward, we've been asking for $300,000 for our technology plan. Owen's done a wonderful job, our director of IT, with putting the plan together, and it's been supported by the Capital Committee every year. So under that capital plan, we currently have $35,000 for overhead projector replacements. We have $75,000 in network switch replacements. We have $150,000 in upgrades in alarm systems at the high school. And then we have a $40,000 for replacement of exterior cameras or upgrades of exterior cameras both at the high school, middle school campus. And that's a total of $300,000. And that's under Article 10. So I can stop there. We can ask questions on that portion of it, and then we can go on to Article 12.
Sure. You have questions on Article 10?
My only question is around the network switch replacements. I'm assuming those are using E-rate funds as well. Those are supplement. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, so so under Article 12, which is the municipal building capital budget, which was established around the same time, we break items down into categories by building. Our new director of facility has worked really hard with our project manager, Ben, on creating a system that deals with deferred maintenance. So we have a new 20-year capital plan that was approved, I want to say around September. And within that capital plan, they looked at it and they pulled out items that were immediate fixes, and then they set up what they feel is a solid 20-year plan to deal with the deferred maintenance of the buildings, okay? So at the high school, we have $35,000 for interior improvements. Those improvements are going to actually replace flooring in classrooms. We have $25,000 in mechanical system improvements and repairs, which will, most of that $25,000 will be going to HVAC. And we have $10,000 in electrical repairs and upgrades. That's for interior and exterior lighting. At the Blake Middle School, we have $35,000 for interior improvements. Again, that's flooring.
Can you just mention the outreach offices?
Sure. So
it's not ours, but it's.
I believe it's about $118,000.
Yeah, it is.
There's an item that's under high school, but the school committee is not going to be voting on that. It's because it's in the high school building. That's $118,000. That was a second amount that was issued to the town to renovate a section of the high school for a town department. And that happened because when we went out to bid, the bids came in over the initial request, so we had to go out and ask for more money in order to get that project done. Okay. And thank you, Dr. Marston, for that. $25,000 will at the Blake Middle School will go to mechanical systems improvements. Again, most of that is going to be HVAC services. $10,000 for electrical repairs, and then $10,000 for site improvements. At Dale Street, we have $10,000 for building envelope. We have $30,000 for interior improvements, again flooring, and $10,000 for mechanical systems improvements. Is for that, and most of that is going to be done with the boiler at the Dale Street School. At Wheelock School, we have $15,000 going to building envelopes. Most of that will be either windows, and it's glazing of the windows. $15,000 will be going to mechanical systems, and $10,000 for electrical repairs. Memorial School, $15,000 again for building envelope, $10,000 for mechanical systems, and $10,000 for electrical repairs. And then we have items under district-wide. We have $250,000 for paving/parking lot renovation. That's actually going to be the Wheelock School. So if we did the middle school, high school parking lot, we've done the Memorial School parking lot, and this summer we're looking to do the Wheelock paving.
Looks like a large project, Michael. Is that doing the full circle as well towards the?
It is right now.
I meant by the soccer fields there. Yeah.
Correct. And the 250 might not be enough, so we're going to be using some of our parking money to be able to finish that. Bids are going to be coming in a little bit higher because of what's going on around the world, and that's affecting the pricing of the blacktop that we have to purchase. So we're seeing it currently that those bids are slightly higher. And then we have $150,000 for roof replacement. We want to continue to our plan to support the roofs and start chipping away at the roofs. And we believe that 150 will be addressing the second phase of the roof at Memorial School. And then we have $150,000 in equipment, and that's replacing a unit, an AC unit, rooftop AC unit here at the high school. So the total request is $825,000.
And that's gone through the capital committee and
Michael's on that.
Yes. So it's been approved by the capital committee. It's approved by the warrant.
quite a lot of
committee.
work, yeah. All through the summer?
It's a lot of work, yes, but we have to get it all done
Over the summer, is that?
over the summer.
I would mention that the Wheelock pavement, that was all part of the Wheelock, that was part of the Dale Street, that whole project. So that's why it was kind of on the back burner. Now, if you drive through Wheelock right now, it's bad. I mean, there's holes everywhere and potholes everywhere, so it just needs to get done.
You're still gonna keep the middle grass though, so I can park on it. I mean, that's, we really enjoy that. So,
Yeah,
okay.
there's no redesign. It's
Yeah.
just the way it is.
Yep. Do you want them separate?
Yes, two
Separate
separate
votes.
votes, please, yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Article 12 as described by Mr. LaFrancesca.
Second?
Discussion.
Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Leah Brem, yes.
Sophia Viglas, yes.
Michael McCabe, yes.
Rosalie Weiss, yes.
Okay, and for the next one, was that Article 10?
Article 10,
We just did Article 10, didn't we?
you said 12.
Oh, 12,
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Article 10 the way it was described by Mr. LaFrancesco.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Michelle Kirkby, yes.
Leah Brem, yes.
Sophia Viglas, yes.
Michael McCabe, yes.
Rosalie Weiss, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank Michael. There's a lot of hours, and
Yes.
the whole capital committee works a lot on this, so I appreciate the work they do on that. Thank you.
Okay, next up is the joint discussion statement that was put forth by the warrant committee. I appreciate the work that Steve and everybody put into this. Him and I did go back quite a few times to kind of soften the wording, but I know we left it off last time to kind of continue this discussion for this committee, so I just wanted to get people's thoughts on it. Thoughts?
Anyway, I hate to be the new guy going first, but I thought it was thoughtful and well-written. I support the contents. Any idea on when we would paste in numbers
Yeah.
for the sort of articulated goals in terms of, growth / spending?
I'm not comfortable committing to any actual goals for next year, on the next 2 years. I had also, I had made a proposal for a separate section on number 8 around a joint collaboration that I'd like to be taken into consideration as well, but other than pasting in numbers, the spirit of the article I'm fine with.
Yeah, I'm in a similar spot. I appreciate the spirit of this, but I worry that there's a little too many unknowns right now on our part to be able to commit to this for next year.
We still have negotiations that are underway for teacher negotiations contract. Obviously, the state of affairs, financially, and not knowing what, where we're going to land on the override itself. So, I think that love to agree to work together. So perhaps some wordsmithing on the statement would be in order, and happy to do that in short order so that it can be, ready to go for an open forum.
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge is that with town meeting coming so quickly, right? Like, we can all,
Yeah.
the other committees, like, we can all just sit and go back and forth and argue about semantics, but I think at the end of the day, I agree with the sentiment behind this, and that we all want to be working towards, fiscal discipline and being in a state to be able to fund the schools and things of that nature. But I think there's too many unknowns, kind of to what you said, but just in general, I worry about being pigeonholed to some of this next year with things outside of our control.
I think similarly, I think that the spirit I am for, like you said, I mean, a sort of commitment to fiscal discipline and maybe having some ironed out things of like, each group will do this. I don't know how we can commit to a number without knowing what happens. Like, I don't know how that can happen. And I think just, thinking of, we're asking for an override and still have cuts, and what the next few years look like. Yeah, I guess I don't know how we can commit to anything that has a number if we don't know what's happening. Especially before, like, town meeting and a vote.
Although I don't think it would hurt to, I don't want the urgency of town meeting to, dismiss the intent of the statement. So, and I guess, and perhaps that is like, regardless of, between now and town meeting, perhaps, we do have generally a meeting planned directly prior to town meeting every year for last minute changes. So put that on your calendar. So we usually meet immediately before, and perhaps between now and that time, some members of our committee can meet with members of the warrant committee to refine a joint statement that can be announced at that time moving forward about fiscal, about the future, right? Because I think that's a good point. It's not just about this town meeting. It's about, reaffirming what we should be, what we're doing already, but reaffirming to the community and, public-facing statement, similar to what was said to some of the things tonight, about, being out there and transparent. So, and I think that would also give the opportunity that, we can reshare some of the adjustments that I had recommended, which would, can enter into that. Maybe some of our new members could participate in that as well. Also have that interest. So it's, and of course, I don't think there's, I don't think anyone's going to deny, what everyone's looking to see. So, so this is, I don't want this to be viewed as a, as a cast off. I think it's just about committing to actual growth. It's just not viable right now.
So it sounds like we're in a place that maybe we continue to have the discussion with the select board and the warrant committee on a statement for the future, but not holding the town meeting as our end goal, right? So continuing to work towards this sentiment of having a joint commitment statement together, and then understanding what that might look like, but not trying to rush semantics for May 4th.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially if it has something about, budget's not exceeding this percentage when we don't know what's going to happen. I think that we could probably get to a place of committing to some of the other things in here about fiscal discipline, and I think that we could probably, if the goal was to get something before our town meeting, I think those things could. I don't know how we could commit to growth without knowing what's going to happen, and like a percentage of growth without knowing that. So I think it just depends on if the priority is town meeting, then I think that part of it is difficult to have happen by then. But the other parts are, I think, doable.
So as the new guy, help me understand a little bit what you guys have in mind when I hear about being the unknowns. What are the unknowns that are on your mind that give you pause about landing on numbers, which I get is scary. Putting yourself out there and committing to, to a hard number out in front of the town certainly is not something that should be taken lightly, but I'm curious what the unknowns are that
So
are.
in a $44 million budget, 3.6 is approximately, Michael? Yeah, million something, but then if you take cost of living adjustments for all CBAs, plus lane changes and the unfinalized teacher contract right this second, which we don't know what that is, and can't talk about where we are financially, you could be looking at $600,000-$700,000 a year just on CBAs, maybe more a year.
More than that.
Yeah. So you're talking about just that alone. So
It's 1.2 this year. So it's just, unit A this year has increased this, for FY '27 is 1.2. That's what's, we had in there, so.
So, and then if that's in negotiations, depending where you are and some of the tricks you can do around applying those increases year over year. So not even knowing where those are gonna land, you could be, by committing yourself to 3.6 each year, you could be committing yourself already to an immediate cut right out of the gate. So, and, from a union's perspective, I haven't seen a union yet that's going to negotiate to fit your number. But I could be wrong. I'm not going to point the finger about that. But those are just the unknowns we don't know, right? We don't know how well they're going to. I'm not a part of the negotiation. I hear they're going well.
I mean, but that's just part of it, right? So you have other costs that go up. I mean, Michael's projecting 67% in gas increases, right, just for next year. That could change, that could go up, that could go down, whatever. Special education costs, so always drivers here. A student can move in with significant needs that we need to provide services for that is unexpected, so that could happen. It has happened in the past. So, things like that it makes it difficult for school districts, I think, to hard and fast say we're not going to we're only increase by that much. Now, we heard at our last meeting that clearly a town goal is to, slow the growth of the school department. That's very clear from what we heard last week, or last meeting. So I think that's, a mechanism of that is having you guys, come on a number, and make that hard and fast number, and that's what you sign on the dotted line, and then everyone agrees to that. So I think it's difficult, and it's your decision, not mine. I just think it's a very difficult thing for school districts to be locked into a number when there's a lot of unknowns.
We could get lucky at the same time, right? Chapter 70 could, with the shift in the Chapter 70 formula this year, we could see an increase that comes.
But it won't come in time, because we have town meeting on May 4th.
After.
And anything else that goes extra goes into free cash.
Only into next year, all right. So, and then bearing in mind, we also want to keep an eye on not asking for a ride at the same time, if we're going to be asking for a Dale Street project. So, and those are just a handful of factors, I guess, yeah.
Any other thoughts?
No.
Right. So continue discussions with
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I
groups
think
involved, but.
I think we should engage in action items to be, sit down with them again and review and adjust this to a point that's something that we could vote on May 4th.
The working groups want to get together before May 4th,
Well,
or might be something, right? If it gets that going, then maybe we could bring it to that group prior to that.
Because I do believe that it's important.
Okay, let's see, bus fees, Dr. Marson?
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. So in your materials, at the last time you had asked Michael and I to put together a implementation timeline if you want to do this in FY '27. So we put together a pretty aggressive schedule. It's a 5-phase schedule that begins with community engagement and data collection. It would start, and we thought the starting date after town meeting would make sense to start it then, but we can adjust if we need to. But really look at launching a district-wide transportation survey, which we talked about at the last meeting, getting all the information, likelihood of participation, need for financial assistance. Make sure we have information sessions for parents, and then maybe do an FAQ rollout at that point, or probably at the tail end of that once we get information. Looking at assessing the traffic impact, which I think is really going to be something we have to really strongly consider with this, and coordinate that with Medfield Police Department and get their input on that. I think that's what I've heard, since our last meeting, is that people are really concerned about the traffic is awful in town anyway. 109 is awful all the time. So the impact of additional cars during that time might be problematic for people. And then, use that survey data, try to get some revenue projections, and then see if we can really figure out whether it's going to be the 70 to 90% participation assumptions, and then kind of go from there. And then, look at phase 2 with the policy and financial issues. Look at the pricing model, which we had talked about, the 180 versus, tiered models, or cap family model that we talked about. Waiver and hardship criteria, refund for non-payment of policies, are all things that, when we started our after-school program this year, these are all things that come up, right? When you start a new program, there's all things that come up with family caps and waivers and hardship, all that stuff we talk about. So then kind of model out what the revenue would look like, and we've done that, preliminary, looking at what it might be at $180, and then kind of guesstimating how many kids would actually ride without getting this hard data. And then, looking at, in phase 3, kind of the operational setup, get the system. Michael talked about a part-time person to kind of do that 15 hours a week, to do the registration management, the payment tracking, the family communication, all of that happens. The bus pass and payment platform, online registration, and then define and looking at payment deadlines, ride eligibility, ticketing, all that kind of stuff. And then phase 4, which would happen August 1st to August 20th, maximize the participation, open bus registration portal, launch full communication plan with email, website, social media, school outreach, explain the deadlines, the fee structure, again, do all that again, waiver process, and then provide support through the administrative person, that help desk kind of role there. And then again, monitor the participation versus the projected revenue. And then right before school started, kind of finalize those logistics, adjust bus routes based on actual ridership data, which Michael does in August, near the end of right before the start of the school year every year anyway. Look at the gaps of participation, coordinate with schools on the final bus list and bus assignments. I mean, especially for our little ones, it's so important that first month of school that everyone knows where they're going at that point. Mitigation plan if needed, so if there's some kind of traffic mitigation if the police department comes up with that, or something that we'd have to look at and try to do that. They've done a really good job helping us out this year, helping us out with traffic. We're down, although they're not our employees, we're down crossing guards, and that's the police department side, and they've been helping us out a lot with the gentlemen or officers that are on duty at that time. And then, payment verification, system checks, all that to kind of finalize it, and then launch it on the first day of school. So I think super aggressive here, but we wanted to kind of put it all together for you to see what would happen if we were to launch it this year. And then, really just kind of get it going on September 2nd with registration, anything that's missing, payment issues, route adjustments, all that troubleshooting that we'd have to do, that we do normally on a regular start of school, especially with bus routes, and we'd have to do it double time with this particular aspect of it. So happy to answer any feedback, any direction. I know I don't think you're planning on voting on this, but it was more just to get the timeline down and see what you thought.
I thought this was pretty comprehensively, thought through, especially given the short turnaround time you guys have. So I appreciate you guys coming back with this so quickly. The one thing that I thought, and again, whether it's probably phase 1 maybe, or phase 2, but when we're talking about, we're engaged in the community, gathering data, could we also look at I think what jumped in my mind was, we know we need there needs to be, there's an admin component to this. Somebody's got to put their fingers on the keyboard and doing this work just to see what other schools around here are doing, whether that's a totally separate body or whether that's, you know, a additional role for something existing, but how that happens in other schools. And then maybe similarly what utilization or participation or whatever word we're using here,
Right.
what that looked like in other schools as well.
Yeah, I think we're unique in the sense that we do bus more kids than other places do. I mean, we bus
Okay.
a lot of kids as far as inside the 2 miles.
Yeah.
And so many other districts have neighborhood schools, so it's just a different structure than we
Yeah.
have. I've talked to the superintendent of Hopkinton, which has a similar structure, and they had added theirs a few years ago. So there's definitely some things that we can do there, you know, prior to putting this together. Medway was the one that did it the most recent. So they did it, I think this is either their third year or this will be their third year doing it. And they have a full-time director of transportation that just does all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
So we're not looking to do anything like that.
Yeah.
But that person does all the routes and coordinates this and does all that kind of work, so. They, you know, they had some traffic stuff that they talked about too, and, you know, that they were concerned about. When I did this many years ago in a former district, you know, we had some traffic stuff, and then it panned out when people started, you know, paying for the busing, and
Yeah.
so it's, but I do think Medfield is unique because the traffic is so bad. I mean, it's a cut through for all the communities, you know, from people in Walpole, Norfolk, everyone's cutting through here, you know, to go to either 95 or, you know, go to the Needham direction, and it's, traffic is rough, so. I think that's really what the existing concern that people have, is that we're gonna add to this now, by doing this. But the data will tell us if we, you know, do the survey and get some information from parents, that will help us out a little bit.
I had 3 things. One, Owen, could you put me back on? I'm sorry, having network troubles here. Michael, is there a way to have the routing be done by the, you were anticipating this question?
So part of our contract is we do the routing.
Oh, gotcha.
So we have a new software that we launched a week ago, in anticipation that we needed something more robust, I should say. And so we're working on that. We're being trained on it. All the maps have been downloaded. All the students are in the system currently. So we're working on writing data to meet our needs, because our school is different than the majority of the schools in the surrounding areas. So, you know, we're working with the company to write those programs, because it's not a standard programs that other communities are using currently. So we're working on it, but it's still a lot of work.
Which we'd have to do anyway, right? Whether we do this or not, we were doing this, so it wasn't like, you know, we're doing this because of the bus fees.
No, I was just curious, because, you know, in my district, it's owned by it's in our contract that they own the routing. I was just curious what that would do, the contract.
I mean,
As opposed to hiring somebody.
So we do work with them because they have the existing routes, right, that we've been
Yeah.
doing. But it's going to change, right, depending on how many students are taking the bus, you know. So we still have to figure all that out, and that's why we need the survey, and we need to get that information in order to, right, the data's only as good as what the data that exists. So that's going to change a little bit in order for us to get more accurate of what it's going to look like. But, you know, we're trying to get ready for it. I'm going to tell you my personal opinion is, if you decide to do fees, that we do look at the, you know, I know you're not going to be happy with me, fiscal year '28, where we're going to have more time to implement, and it's not being rushed. You know, if we're only gaining between 150 to 200,000, you know, and we know that next year is going to be another tight budget year, then, you know, we can stop planning for it now, reducing that budget, because we're going to have better data going into that fiscal year, where we're going to be crunching a lot of numbers now. We're not going to be as accurate because we're trying to get something through. I think planning and having more time is is better for us, you know, to implement a better system. That's just my 2 cents.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I'm worried about the contract part of it too, with the change, like, and how much we'll save at the, at the end of that, because obviously they plan on so many buses and so many runs, and if we reduce that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we can reopen that contract if we need to, but it's year 1 of that contract, right? So,
Yep.
Again, I just think that a better plan would be for us to, you know, not rush through it, and know going into fiscal 28 that we're implementing fees. So that's a part of one of our assumptions when we're building the budget moving forward, that, you know, we implement that into our schedule. But if this is what you guys want, we will absolutely make it happen. It's not going to be perfect, but we will make it happen.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Michael.
So we'll keep this on the agenda going forward?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Next up, we have the mobile phone social media task force update. Before we get to the update, with the departure of Will, we want to be looking to add a school committee member. So I just wanted to get people's thoughts if anybody wanted to join that group. The work has been going on, I think, almost 2 years now, right?
It is,
Maybe some deliverables coming soon?
Yes. Well, we've had, we just had a, we had a screenagers showing.
Right.
So that's deliverable, and we have another one coming on April 30th, so. I mean, the thing is that some of the policy stuff's been stalled because one branch of government voted for it,
No,
the
I
other
saw
one
that
hasn't,
today,
right?
yeah.
So we're kind of waiting for that to take place and give us some direction where we're going. I mean, we've implemented what we have at the middle school and high school, and, you know, we don't want to go too far in if we're going to have to be forced to do something different. So we're kind of in limbo a little bit with that. But it's been great conversation. I think one of the things that we've kind of morphed into this, which isn't a mobile phone, but it's the conversation around how much technology and screen time happens in school during the day, which has been a great conversation, especially with our younger parents. So it's yielded really great conversations. It's just, I know that you want some deliverables there. We're getting there. You know, Nathaniel Vaughn is one of the co-chairs, so.
Oh, Nathaniel.
Harkening back to my parents right now.
So we do have another one scheduled for April 30th. Nat, when's is it the 16th? Next Thursday is our next meeting. We're getting together, and we meet right in here. So it's been a great group of people that want to get some things done, so we're happy to have a new member if someone wants to join us.
I'm interested if
Me too.
if others aren't, or.
How many can you take?
Well, we can't have a quorum.
Yeah, but it's true if we do.
We're not gonna allow it to turn into a school committee.
So you're both interested?
Yep.
Yes, but I mean,
I'm happy to add two if you
Sure.
guys both want to go.
I think it's
No one sees
important.
a problem with that.
Especially the screen
Great
time
topic.
part, I think it's become quite a conversation in other circles, and I think we have a lot of data that probably could be great to reflect on.
I think it's great.
Great.
Absolutely.
All right, I'd like to nominate Sophia Viglas and Mike McCabe to join the mobile phone social media task force.
Second,
Michelle Kirkby, yes?
Leo Brem, yes?
Sophia Viglas, yes?
Mike McCabe, yes.
Rosalie Weiss, yes?
Any other update around?
No other update.
Okay. So on to the SBC. So similar conversation, I guess. We currently have 2 school committee members on the SBC, myself and Leo. I've been on the SBC since its inception. The other seat has had a few members. Leo sat there for the longest of the 3 of them. And as we look how to better share the workload, I kind of wanted to redistribute some of these things, so I wanted to see if there was any interest in taking over my seat. I know there was some interest from the new members, so if either of you had wanted to take it over, happy to have that discussion. And just pointing out that we've hired an OPM, so kind of this is a good chapter, so to speak, to kind of bring someone new in versus throwing you in the middle of something.
That's right.
so.
There's some fresh labor to help us keep on track
Yeah.
that hasn't fallen on the committee.
I would be interested
Okay,
in joining the committee. I've had experience in the past in 2 different districts, so I think I would be able to take part.
I'd like to nominate Rosalie Weiss.
second. Michelle Kirkby, yes?
Leo Brem, yes.
Sophia Pickles, yes.
Michael McCabe, yes.
Rosalie Weiss, yes.
Too late to back out now, Rosalie.
And also in your materials, you have a letter from MSBA, so they did approve our OPM. We had our hearing on Monday, and Vertex did a great job with their presentation, and they answered many questions from the panel, and we received the letter yesterday, so really happy about that. It's now official. And our meeting that was scheduled for last night has been changed to Monday night. So
Yes.
our first meeting with the OPM is this Monday night at 7 at
Second floor of Town Hall.
second floor?
Rosalie will
That's
make
right,
it-
they changed it to second floor
Yeah.
town, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, Rosalie will get you on the mailing list.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. And the other SBC business was an appointment of the MSBA Design Review Panel designee. So the school committee can have a school committee member or a designee. So I talked to Carolyn Casey and Jeff D'Amico about this. They felt somebody who had been on the project so far this year would make sense from a school committee standpoint, so myself or Leo would probably be in that space. But again, open to discussion if people's thoughts. I'm happy to sit on it.
I think it should be someone that's been involved if so they don't need to be caught up. I mean, and this is just for choosing the architect?
Correct.
Correct, yeah. And, just so people are familiar, this is to put forward people to have a vote along with a bunch of people from MSBA. So it's not like all Medfield say, so same thing with the OPM.
Mhm.
So, I was done it before, so I do not need to do it again.
And this is the selection of the architect, like the designer, not the actual design. Just wanted to.
Right,
Correct.
right, exactly.
Correct, no.
This is only
They
for
will
the
have
design.
many,
Oh, this-
Iterations.
Iterations.
I
and public input, right? They'll have people come and give feedback in that space.
Yeah, there's many opportunities
Yeah.
to see that. They'll come back with 10 or so maybe options.
Could you explain further? It's hard for me to hear the subject.
We're talking about the designer selection. It's the next stage of the process. So now that the OPM's been hired, we're quickly, the committee is quickly engaging in the selection of the designer because time is money, of course, and the sooner the better. So the next part of this phase is to select people to represent the school committee, or a person to represent the school committee as on the designer selection committee, which is a subset of the actual whole committee. So I need a scorecard just to keep track of that anyway. So I nominate Michelle Kirkby to represent the school committee on the designer selection committee.
So moved.
Second.
Michelle Kirkby, yes?
Leo Brem, yes?
Sophia Viglis, yes.
Michael McCabe, yes.
Rosalie Weiss, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there any other SBC update?
And no.
Okay. All right, moving on to communication and community engagement. Updates in that space?
I missed the PTSA meeting.
I think just there's been a lot of communication with at least the PTOs and CPACs about just like them being like, what can we do and how can I help and how can I like talk about the budget with people and how can I how can I explain it to someone in easily, right? Like there's some people I think want all the details and some people are like, if I'm seeing someone quickly, how can I explain this in like
30 seconds.
yeah, essentially, right? Like an elevator pitch sort of thing, was definitely an ask of some people in some of the meetings.
And I think that's part of the idea of having that card, for us to either disseminate or talk about the talking points about what the override will do. I think it's probably something that Warren would probably be happy to put together with us, the 5 important bullets, yeah, of what the override will do. And maybe some doomsday stuff like what it means if it doesn't pass.
Yeah, I mean, I think the feedback we got from PTO folks was like, they wanted if-then. Like, if this happens, then this happens, and really just be very clear about the fact that if the override passes, then this happens. If the override doesn't pass, then this happens, and just really, as you said, 5 points, boom, 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 elevator pitch, so that folks know exactly what's going on, so. And I know that Steve has been working on FAQs from the Warrant Committee and done a really good job with that, and I think that he wants all of us to get together and do that forum from what he had mentioned to us before, so. Makes a lot of sense.
Hillary, how you doing down there?
I'm good.
Any updates?
I forgot to mention 2 events actually, but Student Council, we hosted Putting for Patients, which we helped fundraise for the Dana-Farber Cancer Research, and we raised almost over $5,000, which was super exciting. We had it in the gym, and it was putting, 18 holes, mini golf, and it was really exciting and a good day overall. And then Miss Amazing took place on March 21st, which was an event that many students participate in, whether that's being a buddy for the day or a right-hand man. And it's aimed to giving women and girls with disabilities like a platform to shine with public speaking and talent showcases. So it was a really fun day and very rewarding.
Awesome.
I love that that's hosted here.
I know, me too.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's really, every like teenager that has participated in it from Medfield that I've spoken with has always just been amazed at how impactful it was for them that they didn't expect.
Anything else?
Just one thing. So it's that we had I thought some really, I think, smart, insightful comments on like putting together materials or an info session that would incorporate school committee, warrant committee, select board, and so forth. The other thing on my mind was the sort of activation and mobilization of voters. So we've talked about reaching out to MCP, talked about reaching out to PTOs. Like when we make those requests of them, is the ask, and I'm sort of saying, hey, hey PTO, can we filter these requests down to at the elementary level, like every room parent, and send out notes and get back feedback from this classroom of 23 kids, so that's 46 parents, and have a sense going into town meeting that 30 of those 46 parents are showing up, going back a long way. That type of tracking and mobilization, and back in the day it was like phone trees and whatnot, but was what drove a lot of people out. I'm curious if that is that type of ask, that type of mobilization is what we're asking for from.
Yeah, so last Thursday we met, I met with Dr. Marsden and Chair Kirkby with a working group that they have with the representatives from all those organizations.
Yeah.
And they were very active in asking how they to get that information and take it back. So
Okay.
to answer your question, yeah, that is the question. And as independent 501Cs, they don't, as we can only inform about the vote.
Right, sure.
So they can actively, go out and ask about the vote.
Advocate and so
Advocate,
forth.
yeah. So yes, that is the ask. Yeah.
Okay.
What else?
And any other, please bring on the ideas, because activating the populace is obviously something that is something that.
And they've put out about childcare
Yep.
Yep,
at
that
town
was
meeting, which I think is awesome of the
Yeah.
teachers to volunteer to do.
Yeah.
And I think there are like 45 kids already.
Oh, wow.
I asked yesterday
Yeah.
that have been signed
That's
up.
great, 45?
Yeah, I think it was
That's-
45.
yeah,
but
that's
someone-
awesome.
Yeah, which is great. So.
Well, we certainly continue to hear from the community that, they want an opportunity to hear more. So whatever we can do, we
Informational items?
Just a couple of things I have. Yesterday, we had our 14th, excuse me, annual Digital Learning Day. It was fantastic. I'm just so proud of the work that our teachers did to plan that. We have a small group that plans it. All of our teachers attend. We had teachers and administrators from over 60 districts there yesterday. We had a keynote speaker, Jeff Riley, who's the former Commissioner of Education, and then Greg Kellogg, who has done some incredible PD on any type of technology in this district for probably 15 or 16 years. Came back, he hasn't been here in a couple of years, and did some really good work on AI. So the whole thing was AI focused, kind of do your adventure in AI, and it was just a really well done program. I know Leah was there for a little bit, and got some really good feedback from what our teachers and what everyone did. It was just great. So pleased about that. And then I just want to remind you that our Special Olympics are coming up on April 28th. Medway is hosting this year, and we do that with 4 towns in Special Olympics, so we're really excited about that. We have a lot of athletes going this year, and we do the bus transportation. We do the send-off in each school. It's really a great time, so looking forward to that on the 28th. And I also wanted to thank the teachers for babysitting, offering to babysit for a town meeting, which I think is a great idea. And I know that they're very committed to making sure the district stays as is and doesn't, lose the, I looked at, I don't know if anyone saw it today, there was an article, it was in Boston.com, that talked about real estate. It was about what you can get, the spring real estate, what you can get for $1 million, and then what's available under $1 million. And they talked about these communities, and then halfway through the article it said, if you're looking at premier communities, like Winchester, Reading, Hingham, Dover, Medfield, then you certainly are going to pay a lot more, and with the good school system, it's going to cost you even more than that. So we're definitely recognized by a great community and also an outstanding school district, and everyone just wants to make sure that stays that way. So I think that's the commitment that people have from the teacher side to make sure that they, both parents can come and vote and help out and support the schools at town meetings. So I thank them for that.
And I appreciate them doing that as well. I know town meeting is hard for people to attend, and many who move here from cities are not familiar with the town meeting structure. I've heard things like, well, can I vote online? Or, can I, is that something I can click on a TV remote? Whatever the case may be. And so I think there's part of what you're saying, Mike, around activating the voters is a lot of educating the voters as well of what the town meeting structure looks like. I happen to grow up in a small town. I know what town meeting was about, but many don't. And so I think that's also part of the learning that we have, and we can do through our civics programming inside schools and about what town government looks like and local control. But at the same time, we do need to get that word out. And I will work on and share through Madam Kirkby here about talking points. Please feel free to take them apart as much as you'd like, and use them and get the word out. So.
Okay, anything else?
One thing I was just, like Dr. Marsden said about the AI, today, first period, my teacher talked about how she went to a workshop for a Gemini, and she introduced it to us, and it was really helpful because she created gems, which adds parameters. So now for studying for our AP exam, we can add it in, and she added her notes, so it gives us answers directly from her notes. So that's super helpful, and I think a lot of people really
Good
thought.
feedback. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think one of the big takeaways I had too, and Hillary, I'm not suggesting you're using AI, but former Commissioner Riley recommended that you ask whatever chat you use to create an image representing your relationship with your AI over the last 6 months. Yeah, I actually did it in the meeting. It was very interesting because he framed it in the sense of, if you say please or thank you to your chat instance, it may impact how it thinks about you when you ask it to produce an image. So I thought it was very interesting. It put a very collaborative one for me. So yeah.
That's good.
All right, future agenda items we have besides the town meeting is the school choice hearing. Our next meeting will be on May 4th, 2026, prior to town meeting.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Our June meeting date, or the workshop date?
I think we'll talk about that after town meeting.
Okay.
I mean, we have
Yeah.
school that day, so clearly we're not having. a
Okay,
meeting that
yeah,
day.
I just,
But how we decide what we're gonna do at the workshop, whether we do it in June or we move it to August.
Okay.
Or, kind of have that discussion on what we feel like we need to do to get to wherever we need to get to.
okay.
Is Boston still in school then? You guys are
Oh,
still.
I'm in school for a long time, that's why I'm asking, because if I need to take a day, if my principal's listening, then I just, if I know if I have to save a day for that, basically.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, my thought was, I think we need to see what happens.
Okay.
And then decide how we want to.
I'll save one of my personal days.
Anything else? All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay. Michelle Kirkby, yes?
Neil Brem, yes.
Sophia Viglas, yes.
Michael McCabe, yes.
Rosalie Weiss, yes.
Thank you, Rosalie.
Welcome.
Safe travels.
Thank you.